All right, another analysis video. And this time we're going to talk about Dallas Fuel's Zarya Reaper composition and how they make it work and why it's pretty fantastic to watch. Um, Previously, I had been notoriously, I guess, supposed down on Zarya as a pick in the Overwatch League, with the reservation that I think it really worked on certain maps. For example, Eichenwalde, and I predicted this map, Eichenwalde, to be very difficult for Gladiators to deal with because Zarya is so effective here, and Dallas Fuel have shown that they're prone to play this Zarya Reaper composition. So I'm gonna look at some clips here from this map because I think that this map particularly showcases why the composition is so effective and how you're making it work. I think that Matt and Mitch did a great job in the cast already explaining this, but they essentially read my mind and said everything that I had on my mind while I was watching this game. But I still wanted to make a video sort of talking about how it works. So breaking down the composition, you can see that they're playing this Reaper, Genji, Zarya composition. So how sort of I wanted to think about Zarya is sort of like a close range character because of her beam, but she's almost like a supplementary character, like a support character, because it's really all about Edison and Sparkle diving in here, and Zarya, with the help of Zarya Bubbles, trying to enhance their ability and trying to protect their ability, more so than Zarya serving as like the sole tank, being the protector of the team or like holding the front line for the team. So let's take a look at how that actually looks like, and there's some pretty visual and great examples thanks to the Overwatch League observers of how this plays out. So in this case, Dallas Fuel, they want to contest this high ground because I mean, we can take a look, I suppose, at Gliders composition. They're playing this soldier echo composition, right? So they want to dethrone this support from the high ground, they don't want to dethrone this soldier from the high ground, and essentially make life difficult for the gladiators. So taking a look at this view, you can see that Edison is going to contest Shu right here on the high ground. Reiner is going to come to peel, but I mean, it's a Reaper, like what are you gonna do? So they're using this Zarya bubble on top of Edison, and that's scary because now you have a Reaper here that has a Zarya bubble, so you can't sleep him as Shu is trying to do. I think this is a sleep animation right here. Okay, maybe it wasn't. And you can't really deal with Edison whatsoever. Now, Edison acknowledges that he's in trouble immediately because you have Funny Astro and Ans on the way on this way as well. Shu, Reiner, I mean, pretty much the entire team is here right now trying to peel for Shu. Great job by the Gladiators. But this bubble fades, Wraith form comes out, Edison acknowledges that he's in trouble. But already, 2 out of 2 bubbles, Hanbin is now going to bubble Edison once more, and Sparkle is also going to come into the picture with Feelers and Nano Boost. So this is essentially like 2 versus 5. Like you can see it right here, it's 2 versus 5. It's not, you know, a tank, messing everything around, and it's not like constant heals from Diana. This is Dallas Fuel, one of the best teams in the league, trying to take a 2 versus 5 fight and investing so much into the Reaper and their Genji that they're going to win the fight pretty much alone for the rest of their team. There's the second bubble, and I mean, it's not the greatest kind of dive from Dallas Fuel here, but I really just want to make the point of like how much they're investing into their damage duo and why this composition is so good if you have 2 great damage players and Hanbin as well backing up. So Zarya's not really like the main character in this composition, it's more like a supplementary support character that enhances the rest of the damage duo. So how does the Gladiators deal with this? Well, it's a fantastic peel coming out of the LA Gladiators, and after that is done, you can pretty much like push the pace. When you dealt with this Reaper, what else are you going to really contest with? There's no soldier here that can, you know, mess things up. There's no tracer. It's just a pushover from that point because everything, oh my goodness, everything just hinges on that Reaper and Genji really making it work for the rest of the team, and they clean up this fight after a nice peel onto Edison. So I want to take another look at another example here. This time it's going to be, is this the same fight? No, it's not the same fight. This is, again, Edison diving with another Zarya bubble on top of him. So you can see it's pretty much the same thing. Now, in this case, he didn't go all in, but they're taking space still. And you can see that Gladiators backed off, and now this space is pretty much secured for the Dallas Fuel, and they can utilize this to move up. And they're going to try to contest, this time, again, with a Zarya bubble. Again, though, I think Gladiators are doing a pretty good job acknowledging that this is the focal point of the Dallas Fuel, and they're shutting it down. They're rotating nicely, they're peeling nicely. Sparkle goes down here, and from here on out, again, it's like an absolute pushover. They're just like, okay, well, we're just gonna go in on the side of LA Gladiators. We're going to counter dive you. We've shut down Sparkle already, and now we're going to push the advantage and really kick you when you're down, essentially. So I have to give some credit to the Gladiators. here, because, and this is essentially why I predicted them to win as well, because I thought that they would be able to outmaneuver this Zarya. Again, Eichenwalde, after pretty much this fight, it just falls to pieces for the Gladiators. And as we take a look at some future examples, this is Gladiators on their attack as well. Now, what is so interesting about this example is it's another great view showcasing like why the composition is so effective for the Dallas Fuel. What is interesting here is that Gladiators, they're under attack, right? So usually you would have expected them to hold this high ground. You would have expected them to be like, well, I mean, you have, in this case, you have a soldier, you have an Ana, you want to hold this high ground. But it's like they almost, I mean, they pretty much know that Dallas Fuel Reaper composition, it's going to be so effective in these close quarters that there's no way they can take this fight to begin with. So what ends up happening is they've immediately like defaulted to this low ground right here. I mean, Kevster is like building ultimate or something. I don't know what he's up to. But Gladiators, they're like, well, I mean, there's no way we can contest up here, so we're already gonna drop down, and from here on out, we're gonna spread out. Like, we're just gonna try to run away. We're gonna try to peel away, do everything we possibly can. We need this space. We need this level of space to peel away from the eventual dive from Edison that is coming in right here. And after this Reaper bubble, the rest of the team can sort of like come with. So this is the dive. This is the Reaper dive coming in from the Dallas Fuel, making all kinds of space. Okay, that was actually not, that's a bubble. This is a bubble. And I mean, it's a catastrophe for the Gladiators, because like it's impossible to like clear this much space. Here's a soldier, you can see the ping right here, and the supports are trying their best to like run away, but this composition moves so quickly with the Lucio speed and with the teleports and with the wraith forms that it's like, if you're the Gladiators, you can't really hide in this scenario. So that's why the composition works so well and why it's so much fun to watch Dallas Fuel executing this kind of composition like this. All right, so I want to give an example of how it goes poorly for the Dallas Fuel. So this is another example of sort of where you expect this composition to be really effective. You could say that, well, like Dallas Fuel, they're really affecting at defending point A of Eichenwalde here, because it's close areas, right? You have a Reaper, this is sort of what you excel at. Zarya as well, close range kind of character. But it goes all wrong here, because they utilize the Zarya bubble onto Edison, and he's in trouble already. And so you can see this bubble coming out, and now he's forced to peel away because they've lost both their bubbles, as you can see down here. And this is Gladiators acknowledging that, like, hey, we can push the pace now. We got out the two Zarya bubbles. They can't really engage whatsoever. And immediately the dives come through. Like, everyone's joining in as well. Funny Astro's here. Shu is over here. And they're just running in. They're just like, well, Dallas Fuel, they don't have resources for what their composition is supposed to do. Zarya doesn't have any shields. And we can just steamroll them from here on out. So it's great acknowledgement by the LA Gladiators. And this is sort of what they're aiming to do with their composition against that Dallas Fuel. And they end up capping the point pretty much immediately here on Eichenwalde. Finally here on Ilios, I want to showcase as well how fast this composition moves. So typically with a Lucio Moira kind of composition, if you're playing some kind of like, you know, full team kind of dive composition, you are able to clear these spaces really quickly because you have a Reaper, you have a Zarya, and you're able to speed boost around. But because of like the Shadow Step as well from the Reaper, he can not only like clear these areas, he can also like dive in with the help of double Zarya bubbles, which just massively increases this pace of the composition. So this is sort of Dallas Fuel back to what they were doing so well in 2021 as well. So they're clearing this room. Reiner is forced to disengage here away from this room. Funny Astro peeling away as well. And already while they're doing this, Edison is already going to like be here. He's the tank. Edison is the tank. He's the one diving in, creating space. And because of Edison is this threat right here that you can invest double Zarya bubbles in. The Dallas Fuel, they retain all of this space now. They have the point because Edison essentially dove in. So it's quite gorgeous and quite, I mean, it's kind of ironic, to be honest, that Reaper is now the tank of the Overwatch. And with some extra resources put him into it, you can now effectively have a Reaper dive composition. Maybe we can watch this fight play out. I mean, yeah, he uses the ultimate and they win the video game. So, finally, I want to take one look at one example, again, of the LA Gladiators sort of breaking this composition down and how they're maneuvering around it. So, I want to go back to that view, actually. because Matt also mentioned this on the cast, but it really showcases like how to play around this kind of composition. So again, Edison is going to be in action here, and he's going to hold this line for the Dallas Fuel. This is the space we're controlling. This is ours now. But again, Ans is playing the Soldier 76, and because Ruins is so open, you can flank around here, and you can flank around onto the bridge as well. And again, you're creating these multi-pronged kind of attacks. And it's easier to deal with the Reaper in this kind of way because you can outrun him, and you can out maneuver him because he's so close range, right? He only operates in one kind of way, really, unless you're doing an exaggerated way of what we just saw on Well, where maybe like the Reaper dives one way and the Zarya clears out another way. So as we see this fight play out, we can see the Dallas Fuel, they're trying to push up here on this side of the map, but Ants is going to come in with a flank. Good Bionade by Shu here, I suppose. But Ans, he's playing on top of this kind of building. They're trying to peel him away, but he gets the value. He shuts Edison down. That really opens up this fight for the LA Gladiators, being able to outmaneuver this Reaper. And again, this is how I sort of thought that the LA Gladiators would close this series out. They're up 2-1 here. I totally think that the Gladiators should have won this map and get a 3-1 win. But instead, the Dallas Fuel end up reverse sweeping the Dallas Fuel. So quite impressive in and of itself from the Dallas Fuel, being able to keep your composure and close this map out, while the Gladiators ended up using some stupid ultimates. But overall, I hope this showcased the Zarya Reaper dive composition and how the Dallas Fuel play it.